In this final episode of our three-part interview with Thai social entrepreneur Neil Dejkraisak from Jasberry, you'll discover more about the lasting impact he's created in the lives of rice farmers in his country. Now, over to Neil.
I mean, I think first of all, what you did is absolutely the right thing to do. It makes total sense. Most people wouldn't do it, and I'm curious, what did that experience teach you? How did it change you? How did it change your outlook?
Getting emotional about it now because just thinking about it, because it did, it really impacted me a lot. It's just, when like the experience that I've had up to that point in life, of course I was lucky enough that I had good education, that I traveled to many countries in the world, and I met a lot of amazing people. But these people, they have nothing in life. From a material standpoint, let's say, they have no car, they have no, they have a lot of debt, they have no money, they have no, good clothing, they have, they have the basic necessity in life. And what really inspired me a lot is they're just the most beautiful people. It's really hard to explain. Like, I remember going into their home, and they said, "Hey, eat with us. We cook for you. We give you food, everything. You can stay at our house." I said, "Okay, well, thank you so much. Like, is there anything I can do for you?" I was a student. I said, maybe give them some money. And they said, "No, I don't want money. I don't want money from you. I just want to take care of you." This is, how many people in life do you know that have nothing, but yet still give everything? It's, I think it's very inspiring for me. It was then, it still does now. And it's like, and most of them were like this. They're just me with open arms. I'm just a student doing some research, like they open their homes, I got to know their family. They they really embraced me and just have the biggest heart. Just have the biggest heart. And I remember sitting down and having some conversation with them, and I asked one of their farmer, who was one of the leader, he was 73 years old. And he's still, waking up at 4 a.m. and doing like back-breaking work. It's very physical. I could barely handle it at 29. He's 73. He's doing this, 6-7 hours a day. And I sit down with him and I asked him, I said, "Are you proud to be a farmer?" And he said, he paused like for a long time. "I was always taught as a kid that the two most prestigious profession in the world is to be a teacher and to be a farmer. It teaches the future of, changes human, help young people grow up to be quality human being, to be quality citizen of the world. And farmers give us food. They provide us with food." And here I am sitting with this incredible human being, and he just so broken down by the system. And, he looked at me and just total silence when I asked him if he's proud to be a farmer. So I asked him another question. I said, "Do you want your children to be farmers?" And very quickly he said, "No, I don't want my children to be farmers." And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "I don't want them to be poor like me." And it really struck me. And I said, "You know what? If I can do something to change this in this lifetime, it'll be a worthwhile endeavor." So this is...
I think that obviously such an extraordinary story. Do you know what always amazes me is it always amazes me that people aren't more moved. Like the number of people, living in London, which is an extraordinary city, and part of what makes it extraordinary in a weird way is just the polarization of people and their income. You know, you've got people that are living in one of the greatest cities in the world that are, you know, that are desperately poor, and then you've got people that are living at a level of wealth which is unseen in most cities in the world. You just look at these people and you think, you know, you're driving around in a supercar, you're shopping, you're spending your days shopping at Harrods. You know, you're boasting in the media about what you're acquiring in life. And meanwhile, many of these people come from countries that unfortunately have desperate poverty. And I just wonder how it's not possible to be more moved, right? But your situation is talking about as a child being moved by people with a sense of purpose, and, you know, and just describing this experience of living with these farmers. I mean, it's so beautifully put the way you put it. It's like they have the least and they will give the most, you know, quite amazing. So that experience of spending a year, you know, living with them was really, as you say, about, well, almost a byproduct of that experience was getting to know them. But fundamentally, your purpose was to actually go into work to see the product being developed, understand the technical aspects of taking a seed and getting it produced. So so your goal ultimately, remember when you first told me about this idea, you said one of the things that we faced was, first of all, we needed to convince people to start doing things a different way. But the other was you had to go and create a market for it, you know, a market that's already overserved with rice. So can you talk a little bit about that experience? Like, after you'd spent a year doing this and learning all of this and getting a limited harvest, you then had to go from working the field to putting on a suit again and going out and finding people to buy it. Can you describe what that process was like?
Yeah, like I always had a big dream, you know, like that when I first started this journey, I didn't want Jasberry to just be a small social enterprise that was doing good. I wanted to make change at a bigger level. So I remember before I went to spend time with the farmer, actually, I was doing my business plan competition, and I had a chance to compete in let's say one of the competition in the United States. And at the time, Whole Foods was very famous. So it's like, okay, where do I see the Jasberry rice is in Whole Foods? That would be like the ultimate thing, right? One of the ultimate things is, yeah, I guess it's like being in Harrods and in this prestigious supermarket. And I remember I didn't have a product then. I did some mock-up with some designer to like visualize, hey, what the packaging looks like, Jasberry. So we came up with packaging, everything. And I remember, I said, okay, so now I gotta talk with someone from Whole Foods. So, you know, like all of these were like so difficult. So, okay, well, how did I talk with someone from Whole Foods? And this is a real, and I will tell this story. This is one of the craziest story for me, because I went on LinkedIn and I found this guy, and he is the business development director at Whole Foods. So he's very senior person at Whole Foods. And I remember I got his email, so I started emailing him. I said, hey, you know, can we talk on the phone for like 5 minutes? I have this project, and the healthiest rice in the world, and all this kind of stuff. I must have sent like easily like 20 emails without replies.
To the same guy.
To the same guy. And yeah, his name was Dev. I'm not gonna tell you his surname, but Dev. So I emailed Dev a lot, and I started calling him. So I called, the call center at Whole Foods in the headquarters in Austin, Texas. So I kept getting voicemail. It's like, hey, this is Dev. I'm not here right now. You know, leave a message after the tone. So I left a lot of phone messages. I don't know how many, but I left. Say, hey, Dev, I email you. That is Neil. Can you please respond to me? Nothing. So I left phone messages. I emailed him. And I was in the United States a month later doing this business plan competition. And, as fate would have it, we won this competition that allowed us to go to like the global final, the largest MBA business plan competition in the world, which happens to be held in Austin, Texas, the headquarters of Whole Foods.
No.
So what do you think? What do you think? Knowing my story until now, Robert, what do you think I did?
I'm pretty sure you showed up at his office.
I did show up, but the story is so funny because I went to the headquarters of Whole Foods in Austin, Texas, and true story. I went. I only had 3 days that I was there for the business plan. So I went there the first day. And I remember going to the receptionist and she said, do you have an appointment? And I said, no, but I'm here to see, Dev, da-da-da. And I said, I've been emailing him. And I even said, like, we know each other, which is not true. Anyway, and then she's like, if you don't have an appointment, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the building or I'm going to call security guard.
What? Oh my God, that's a bit harsh.
Yeah, it's a bit. Okay. So I was standing in front of Whole Foods, and I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I mean, he has to come out of the building at some point, and if I stand here long enough, and I know what he looks like, I'm gonna see him. Or
joking.
I'm not sure. So that was going on in my head, and I said, okay, but since I were here, so let me try calling him some more. And as you wouldn't believe it, he picked up the phone, like, and I guess maybe anyway. So he picked up the phone. And I said, look, hey, Dev, this is Neil. I flew all the way from Thailand just to see you. And I made a joke about it. And he's like, oh, you're the guy that's been leaving all this voicemail on my machine. It's like, yes, I am that guy. And I said, well, I'm here now. I came all the way from Thailand to see you. Can you talk with me for 5 minutes? And he thought about it. He's like, okay, come back here at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
And like the funniest part of all this is I was there to compete in the largest MBA business plan in the world, like MBA level business plan, right? It was like the World Cup business plan. And as it turned, my pitch is the next morning. So when he told me that it's 7 a.m., I actually have my pitch. Like I have to pitch for this business plan competition. So I actually told him, can it be 7:30?
Oh my God.
He goes like, he must have been shocked that I asked to change the time, I said, can you make it half an hour later? And he's like, okay, but I start work at 8 o'clock, so you won't have a lot of time. So okay, I only need 5 minutes, so it's okay. And I remember going to the pitch at this, competition at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the judges normally Q&A, right? The team, they are very enthusiastic. I kept looking at my watch, and the judges were like sitting there, like you're sitting there right now, like, and they go like, do you have somewhere you have to be? So they were getting agitated with me.
Yeah. Are we taking up your time here, Neil?
yeah, exactly. Sorry. What? And I look at him and I said, look, I have a meeting with Whole Foods. 7:30. For this product. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the judges like, go, like
that is amazing. Good for them.
By the way, we didn't win that competition, but I didn't care. Like at that point,
Yeah.
So I had a time with this buyer. I had a time with a global buyer of Whole Food, So he got the global buyer of Whole Foods to come with us, to come sit with us, and I told him about Jasberry rice, and I even cooked some. I made like a cold salad, and they were like eating. The whole office was eating, and they said, "Wow, this is incredible!" And then, this is the global buyer of Whole Foods. He's like, "Neil, I'm very impressed. We're gonna take your product on board." And I'm like, I don't have a product yet.
That's right. It's like you've just eaten the product. Oh my God.
I have to go back and get the farmers to grow the rice. But I needed to be sure that I can sell it. Because I can't just go and get all the farmers to grow this and say, like you said, then I go to the market and people say, well, we're not going to do it. So imagine he was very mad at me. He's like,
was he?
Yeah, he was actually a little bit, because I obviously I didn't do anything to convince. But the thing was, yes, he understood in the end. At the beginning, he's like, "What do you mean but why are you meeting with me?" So I started explaining to him more, and then eventually he came around to it. And he's like, "You know what? I love your project. When you're ready, get back to me." So it was.
Of course, that's that is crazy.
So yeah, so that was a crazy day.
Crazy day. It's a crazy story. The whole bloody thing. I can't believe it. It's again. Have you ever had a conversation with the guy at Whole Foods and say, what did you think when this student showed up and stopped and kept bugging you and showed up in your did you ever ask them what he thought?
Yeah, no, he said that he met with me because I was determined, and even though he could really feel that because he get a lot of approaches every day, right, from people that want to sell product to Whole Foods, and he said just the fact that you really persistent and you were determined. So he did appreciate it, that quality. That's why he met up with me. And after, of course, learning about his story, he said that it was a very noble, amazing thing that I wanted to do for my country. So it was one of those things. He was annoyed, of course, but I think it's I don't know. I should ask this question often, but
yeah, for sure. Well, listen, would you mind if we paused the interview for now and picked up again next week?
Sure.
Listen, it is so fascinating, man. This is, first of all, I'm dying to get into the effect it's had, the impact it's had, but the idea of everything that you've done and how you went about it is just so inspiring to people. There's so many people that think, it's not possible. It couldn't be me. Well, you're proof it could be. You're obviously an exceptionally gifted person, so it takes nothing away from the fact that you are a gifted person. But the interesting part about you is that you're incredibly unassuming and you're a very humble character. Just witnessing your reaction to the experience of the farmers. So I think that you have story to tell. So I just want to say thank you so much for this first introduction, and I'll shoot you a note about scheduling round 2 of our discussion.
I hope you enjoyed and got value from the story of Neil and his venture. I'd like to give a huge shout out to my sponsor, the Innovation Hub at Carleton University in Ottawa, Canada. Please click like and subscribe to discover more about the lives of amazing entrepreneurs from around the world. Thanks for your attention.